1-2, man. You know this, man. It's DJ Chase, the pregame party miss podcast right here on WDJCDB, DJ Chase Radio, YouTube, DJ Chase TV, DJChaseRadio.com, and DJChase.net. iHeart Podcast, Spotify Podcast, and Apple Podcast. But enough of that, man. We got let me see. How should I say? Electro pop artist, legend herself. You know this, man. Princess Nostalgia, PA Zone, Pittsburgh Zone. How you feeling today, Mama?
I'm feeling well. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm blessed. So I can't complain. I'm on tour right now, so I can't complain.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah,
where you a fan of Kraftwerk? As a rap producer, Zulu Nation, Soul Sonic Force. You just know how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I recently had an interview with Dr. Dre. I think it was from a while back, but they asked him like, "What are you listening to this summer?" And he's like, "Kraftwerk, pretty much exclusively Kraftwerk." And then I saw he had sampled Trans-Europe Express. Yeah. Song he did with Jay-Z. I don't remember the name of the song, but
it never came out. It would use it in a commercial. That's what they never came out. Yeah.
I have Spotify, but I found it on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. So metal on metal. You know how it goes. A little Kraftwerk in there. Some Mantronics, the good stuff. So
yeah. All right. We'll have a lot to talk about then.
For sure. Shout out to the PA. I love it out there, you guys. That holds a special place in my heart in Pennsylvania. So I love you guys, man. The 412, you know what it is. So I want to get.
Let me know.
I'm definitely I'm trying to get my cousin trying to keep me hostage, but I'm like, listen, I'm gonna come out there. So so I'm definitely gonna come out there. Now I want to get into your background. You have a crazy story. You're like a musical prodigy, genius, but you were born in Rome and you moved to Pittsburgh.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, those are two different worlds apart.
Yep.
So, what how did growing up first of all, how was the culture change like coming back to America or coming to America growing up?
It was definitely a culture shock. It wasn't extremely sudden because my grandparents were based here, so I grew up coming to Pittsburgh to see them. But my father is Italian. Although it's a long story, but his parents immigrated from Italy to Australia after World War II, looking for work. And he grew up in Australia, but moved back to Italy when he was like 30, so still lives there. But he would always make fun of us when we moved to Pittsburgh because he stayed back there. And he's like, went from Rome to the fucking Rust Belt. But I've grown to love Pittsburgh. Both Italy and Pittsburgh feel like home, but this is where I came into my adulthood. So, this is where I live.
Yeah, for sure. Now I want to ask this, right? Because even me, like I've been in Pennsylvania for a little bit. Like I said, I was out in Wilkes-Barre. Like even like me and Wiz Khalifa, like the same. Well, we are the same age. So I remember when he was coming up, I was in Wilkes-Barre. I used to go to Wilkes-Barre to do the casinos. That's when the casinos was big, like DJing the casinos out there. So the music scene is really not that big except for Philadelphia. But the outside is, you have the Pittsburgh, you have the Mac Miller, you coming from Pittsburgh, and of course Wiz Khalifa, but what made you want to develop your sound? Because you're probably the only artist that I've ever met from outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania.
That's interesting. I guess it wasn't really a choice for me. It's something I've been doing since I can remember. Like I started messing around producing on GarageBand when I was like 8 years old. Around the same time I started playing the double bass just in the school orchestra and kept doing it until I graduated from high school. And it was never really a choice, although I did grow up listening to a lot of good music, including Kraftwerk, through my father. He was just obsessed with music, and he was a musician for a while, like toured in a big band and stuff. So my mother is a visual artist, so was my grandmother and my great-grandmother. So I was very fortunate to be raised by artists on both sides of the family and to be encouraged every step of the way and to be raised to never really doubt myself as an artist. And I know a lot of people aren't that blessed. A lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes, but generally speaking, I've always felt like I'm an artist. I have something to say. And, in fact, sometimes I struggle to keep my pride in check, to be honest.
Nah, because you're the shit. That's why you be like, all right, I know I'm the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've been working since 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, but at the same time, I have to balance that with I am not entitled to anything. Like, I'm lucky to even be able to chase my dreams because a lot of people that chance. So it's a balance.
Yeah, tell me about it. Somebody who I've been doing this probably about the same age. I might be a little older than you, but I definitely been doing this as a kid. And people always telling you you're not good enough, you're not making enough money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Just let me be successful. You know what I'm saying? Like success always doesn't necessarily come in the form of financial. You know what I'm saying? So, and you started producing at 10. Let me ask you a question. Did your parents supported you full time? Like they've always said, okay, it's okay for you to pursue music full time?
Yes, although at the same time, I've had a lot of interesting conversations with my mother, especially. My mother was, an artist, and she was pursuing a career, and then she ended up, having children and all the things that kind of sidetrack you. So she's also very much motivated me to work very hard and to be on top of my finances as best as I can. So, I have obviously other jobs on the side, but it doesn't feel like play. Like I do feel a certain degree of pressure based on her experience.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. Now, you being like a classically trained artist, and like you said, your parents are just artistic as hell on both ends. When you working with artists, or you create your own music, do you find it hard to like transition to more popular style from the classically trained music? Like, do you say like, okay, I'm making popular electro pop, like, because more rhythmy in the more popular music as opposed to structured traditional music? Do you find it a little harder?
No, it always came naturally to me. I think, playing in the orchestra, it definitely informed my ability to come up with my own arrangements, especially playing the bass, because the bass isn't really playing the most, in some ways it's the most intuitive part, but it's also counterbalancing the melody. And so playing that role for 10 years kind of, I guess, helped me to intuitively be able to construct arrangements. But the most natural thing to me is pop, basically. Pop, funk, electronic stuff, but stuff with a pop sensibility, like catchy stuff that makes you feel good. That's all that's ever really come to me naturally. The training and classically speaking definitely taught me a lot, but I've never composed classical music.
Got you. Now your image is everything. Like from your visuals, it's just fire. Like I'm just going through your YouTube having a field day, so I'm just loving it. Do you okay, now in your own words, right? You say, I prefer not to be too explicit when it comes to explaining my work, but if I want to suss out my intentions, listen to the music. Now, and I quote. Now, what does that quote mean to you? That's very specifically tailored wording. Like, what made you say that?
I guess that quote was specifically designed for print, especially because I've noticed anytime that I've received press and I say too much, when I read my own words on the paper, like it doesn't read the way I intended it. It's one thing when I'm speaking and you can kind of see and feel my whole essence and intention looking eye to eye, but I think on paper, especially because I studied philosophy in college, so oftentimes when I try to
it comes out,
alienate people, because I'm like, I don't want to come across as
higher thought,
anxious. I really believe the more powerful move is for my art to speak for itself, and of course I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm trying to step back from my tendency to overanalyze or over-explain things.
Yeah, don't do that. That's probably the worst thing you can ever do in music. Like,
comedy, right? Like, I think there's a lot of musicians love comedy, dabble in it, and the vice versa. But the same thing goes for jokes. You shouldn't have to explain a joke when you fucking kill it.
But honestly, you know what it is though? That's coming from Pittsburgh though. That's coming. Listen, y'all coming from, shooting guns and hunting and winning hard winners and real tree and Mazio. So you know what I'm saying? So that comes from that though. Now I want to say this: you work with David Hillis, the dope producers from Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, James Blunt. What made you like? Because you already compose your own music, of course. What made you want to say, okay, I want to get a bigger producer to take my music to the next level?
Yeah, so for the first, basically until the pandemic hit, I tend to be a very prideful person, and part of that came from the fact that as a producer, I often felt underestimated. And, after every show, there'd usually be a guy coming up to me offering to help me, and I would try to at least politely decline and say, listen, how am I going to develop my own voice if you're going to step in before I've even found it? So it took me, 10 years, however long, of doing everything myself, from, writing, arranging, mixing, mastering, directing my videos, editing my videos, designing my album art.
Nah, you go crazy doing that shit. That shit is way too much work.
That's the realization I had, was I can't let my pride get in the way of making my music reach its full potential. And so I start to delegate. Now that I've proven myself, now that I've developed a body of work, I was ready to call in a team of people who believed in my work as much as me and contribute in the roles that were not my main areas of focus. My true passion, I realized, is composing and arranging and producing. But the engineering side, the side that's really getting into physics, that, I realized that someone like Dave has the skills to just push every sound that I've already kind of shaped, range to, be the fullest, most rich experience possible. And I believe that my songs deserve that treatment. And when we met, it was just a completely natural thing. I was ready for to call in that person, and then he came, and then he showed up. Yeah.
Good. Well, like I said, as somebody who's sold a shit ton of streams and records in my life and DJed a lot of places in the world, don't do everything yourself. Definitely, like, you know what I'm saying? It's okay, like, it, in a sense of like, because I noticed this with a lot of artists, like just Wednesday, just this past Wednesday, I did SOBs, right? So I just did it twice. I just did it twice in like 2 weeks. So I'm noticing a lot of artists, they really feel like they have this like somebody shot like out to get them. And I'm like, sometimes it's okay. Like, not everybody's gonna, the Illuminati and the dark forces are not coming to get you. Like, it's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
no, it's so great to hear you say that, because the way I always describe it is I had a massive chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
The first 5 years that I was performing, and I realized how many opportunities I was shutting out because I was so defensive. But at the same time, I had to go through that phase to reach the point where I am at now. I had to protect my vision and have a lot of strong boundaries. But absolutely right, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, it'll happen. And also too, what I like to tell you, because like I said, me going through your sound and just listening to, like I said, we gonna get into Let It Spin, because that's my record right there. So just like listening to it, I'm like, this shit is hard. Like, I'm just like, this is the Jamiroquai, the sound that I like. This is what I like, you know what I'm saying? So don't be so hard on yourself, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes even to take a mental break, like even me, like I produce every day. Like I go crazy if I don't produce something, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's okay to just say, you know what, take a break, you got it, you know what I'm saying? The writing process. Now let me ask you a question. When you produce working with David Hillis, does he do the instrumentation, or do you guys like collaborate together and then you write the lyrics on top of the instrumentation? So all of my music that's out there, I did the instrumentation, wrote arranged every part, wrote every part in the arrangement, with the exception of some amazing guitar licks here and there from my friend and collaborator from a long time ago, Joe Leitrick. And interestingly enough, he had never heard of Nile Rodgers, but his playing, that was the first thing I thought of. And so, his stuff is in there. And whether, occasionally I've built a song around a riff that he sends me, or he'll add a riff to a song that I've already written. But basically what I'm doing with Dave now, and that can kind of circle into what I was going to share about Let It Spin and my discography in general, is I recently, 2 weeks ago, made the decision to take down everything I had ever released, with the exception of Bandcamp and Bandcamp and SoundCloud. But for all the mainstream platforms, I took everything down. And I'm revisiting all of my already recorded, already written tracks with Dave to just remix and remaster them to get them as... Got it, because we were going to definitely talk about that. I'm like, okay. So today, I was in the studio with him for all day, remixing a song called Gestalt Switch. But all the tracks are written and recorded by me. Got you. Fire. That's dope. And all right, so now, do you like the stage better, or you like the studio better? I love performing, but I identify more as a studio musician in the sense that my music is made, I feel like, to be listened to. Not necessarily, it's all MIDI. it's mostly electronic sounds. So
Yeah.
I want you to be dancing to
You want
it.
to mix in the cans? You want to hear them in the cans?
And I love performing, but right
Yeah.
now I need my backing tracks. I'm starting to build a small band to occasionally support me, but yeah, I definitely identify as a studio musician, and I really want people to, of course, dance to it, but I want people to listen to my stuff on their best headphones.
Got you. I understand that. I totally get that.
Favorite music a lot of the time, and that's how my workflow goes, and so that's how I would really love for other people to hear it. Or really, really great speakers in a club where they can really feel the bass,
Yeah, for sure. Now, I want to ask this question too. Now, the new single "Lost and Found," the video is fire. The song is just crazy. The song, because it jumps in the jump like in the minute 20 mark is just crazy. Now, I want to ask this question. Now, the video, where did you shoot that video at?
So, that video is a mix of footage from like 6 years ago, because basically we remixed and remastered the song, and Dave was like, let's at least get the video color graded professionally, because I just did all that editing myself, and it was just me and my friends. Like, I didn't pay anyone for that first video or for any of my previous videos. But
yeah,
when he wanted to color grade it again, I was like, well, we may as well reshoot some of the scenes, because there was a few scenes in the old video that weren't exactly how I wanted them. So like, the scene of me in front of those sphinxes with like the titties, did you notice that?
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm like, this is crazy. That's
a famous landmark, which I didn't know was famous at the time, but it's in Allegheny Cemetery in Lawrenceville in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And it's colloquially known as Titty Sphinx. And it's some like crazy old rich guy who just wanted some sphinx with giant tits on his grave. And it was, we just went there like, I think, I don't know, 8 a.m.
I just did it, yeah.
That application is just available for free. Like, it looks insane. It looks like you're in Egypt or something.
Yeah. I do the same shit. Me and my A&R, we find like random. Matter of fact, there's a phone booth, the only phone booth I think left in New York on like 50 something street and 10th Avenue. We just started doing pictures there.
Yeah, I love scouting locations like that.
So. Yeah, like it's the only one. Definitely. Now the video is fire. The Lost and Found video is fire. Like, I just have to commend you on that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now you are signed to Vault Records, correct? Or that's your label, or that's a distribution label?
It's a small label and studio based in Pittsburgh.
Oh, dope.
Dave works there, which is how we met. I just visited because my mom's boyfriend's friend was recording there, and he just invited me to come check it out, and that is how Dave heard my stuff. And then he called me the next day, like, let's work. But yeah, the Vault, it's an amazing studio sitting in Neville Island, which is like a very kind of, it used to be very, very industrial. So now it has this kind of industrial ghost town type feel, which is kind of a microcosm of Pittsburgh's, energy in general. But the point is, you would never guess a studio as beautiful as that to be sitting in Neville Island. But it's called the Vault because they bought an old abandoned bank. And they the actual vault in the basement into a real reverb chamber and everything. But yeah, it's the most beautiful studio I've ever.
I gotta come out there. We gotta exchange information. I definitely gotta ride out there.
Yeah, we'll give you a tour.
For sure. Now the new EP, No Guru. When is that dropping?
So we decided last week that we're gonna release all 4 songs on the EP as singles, because in today's attention economy, it doesn't really make sense to do, an EP, let alone an album, unfortunately. But they will all be released in leading up to February. So the first single, or the next single after Lost and Found, will be out in probably December. Yeah, December, January, February. We'll be dropping 3 singles. So
got you.
Will come out in February, and we're gonna have a release party at the Andy Warhol Museum in downtown Pittsburgh.
Oh, send me the information. I'll definitely, if I can make it, I'm gonna come to that. So
cool. Yes, I would love to see it.
Got you. If it ain't snowing, if the snow ain't too bad on 80, I'll be out there. All right, now you got any shows coming up?
I do. I have the biggest show that I would want to plug is going to be at Mr. Small's Theater. And it is called Summer on Mars, and it is a lineup of four femme artists who are going to be taking the stage, all in similar genres to me. So, yeah, that's the one that I'm really trying to promote.
Nice.
It's on, it's on December 9th.
December 9th. Copy. Now, before we get out of here, one of my last questions is, and I always ask people, listen, you're somebody who I feel, when is your birthday, if you don't mind me asking?
May 12th.
May 12th. Got you. Gemini.
Close. I'm a Taurus.
Okay, so you have that sternness to you.
Yeah.
Now, what is one of the most difficult things that you feel like in your career so far? Like, what is one thing that you say, you know what? My younger self, I told my younger self I was going to go through this. What is one of the most difficult things, just at least one thing that you felt that has happened in your career thus far?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I would say the way you asked it sounds so deep, and I feel like the more profound existential struggles I've gone through kind of transcend music, but are definitely reflected in that. But practically speaking, navigating social media has been a drain on my spirit as an artist.
Got you.
I mean, how do you have enough time to make music if you have to be making content and TikToks all the time? I'm trying my best, but that's been at least recently the most difficult thing. But in terms of like my whole life and kind of
that's a good thing. We can actually touch on that. We can go into a whole sphere of that. That's definitely a good question.
Give another answer to your question, because the way you asked it made me want to say something a little more deep, maybe.
Go ahead.
But I've realized just because people respect your art does not mean that they respect you. And I've gotten that confused a lot in my life. Being raised by parents who are artists, oftentimes I feel like that has led me to place so much of my self-worth in that.
I like that answer. I like that answer.
Self-worth in your art and in your success as an artist makes you, it's not a path to happiness. Like my self-worth, I'm trying to learn to ground it in just the fact that I am. It's about what I am, not what I can do. And anyone who really appreciates me, anyone who I want in my circle will appreciate me for me, not what I can do. And so learning to make that separation, because before I was able to make that distinction, like there's a lot of sharks who might respect you for one thing, but it doesn't mean they actually will honor you as a person. Even if they're complimenting your art.
It's crazy. That's one of the dopest answers I've gotten thus far. Like, people respect your art, but not respect you. That's crazy. Because once again, I even me as a DJ, I deal with it. You know what I'm saying? People think that, I tell artists all the time, like, listen, I get about 5,000, 4,000 songs a month. There's no way in hell that I can listen to everybody. It's impossible. Like, I'm one person. Like, so I go through it too. You know what I'm saying? Even people, you don't have enough money. You don't have a Lamborghini. I'm like, well, I have a studio. I have a company. I have a radio station. Like, I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, why is it? What is it? Me having 16 chains going to make a difference in my life? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean anything in the real world. So I totally appreciate that answer. And my very last question before we get out of here, 'cause I don't want to keep you too much longer, is what advice do you have for anyone trying to get into the music business?
You have to start somewhere. I think a lot of people are so afraid to even try or to put something out there because it's not perfect, but you got to start somewhere. How are you going to get anywhere if you don't take that first step? Don't let the fact that you're not where you want to be yet stop you from taking that first step. Like, Let It Spin, that track that you really like, I'm remixing that because I put that out when I was like 17, and to me, looking back, the mix is trash, but like,
that record's fire. As a DJ, listen, it got the Isley Brothers drum sample, the loop, and I'm like, oh, this is just, you can tell I listen to the song a lot. So I'm sitting there listening to it, I'm sitting there breaking it down. The song is fire. Do not change it.
Okay, well, I'm just remixing it to make it a little, but anyway, the point is like, I didn't know then what I know now, but I'm still so glad that it's out in the world and that you were able to hear it, and I wouldn't be talking to you if I hadn't put all this shit out to get where I am now. So.
There you go. I'm just teasing you. Don't mind me. I'm just messing with you. I'm just trying to loosen you up a little bit. I'm teasing you. I'm just teasing you.
I didn't know that those drum sounds were sampling the Isley Brothers, because I used the drum designer in Logic, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got their sounds from that. So
that's the footstep footsteps in the dark. Today Was a Good Day, Ice Cube. Those are the same drums.
Crazy. Okay, that's sick. If I don't remember, I'll ask you to remind me of that, because I don't.
Yeah.
It's like the crate digger sound, but I wouldn't. That makes sense.
As you see, listen, this is look. I'm. This is what I do. So this is the only. This is what. Yeah, this is what I do. So
I learned something new about one of my oldest songs today. So
the record is fire. Like seriously, like I think that record right there is just a vibe. And the video was just comedy because I'm like, yo, where was I at when this video was going? I'm like, I should have been there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate it. Nah, y'all was in there vibing. That shit was hard. Like that record was hard. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that. You know, as a producer, I have to ask this before we get out of here. How can, like, say I wanted to send you some beats, a pack or something like that, or how can somebody collab with you? How would somebody reach out to you?
That's a good question because
Are you open? Oh, hold on. Before you finish that, are you open to collaboration?
I'm figuring out the parameters that I'm open to. I'm definitely open to musicians who might want to contribute some organic stuff to my arrangements, but in terms of using other people's beats, like, I do this because I love crafting my own, and I spend months and months, sometimes years, like just perfecting my own arrangements. So in my creative process, I don't have right now, at least, a space for another person's beat, but I still I want to be in touch with other artists, lift each other up, like collaborate on organizing shows together or giving each other feedback. But definitely my one longtime collaborator, Joe Lightrick, his guitar elevates my songs every time. Like just some really tight, funky players. I'm always looking for that.
Got you. All right. What about some drum loops? Anybody can see some drums or something? You know what I'm saying? Like
okay, if you got certain elements if you've got certain things I can sample, then we could talk.
Got you. Princess Nostalgia, man, the 412's own, man. Where can people find you? How can they reach out to you? Get the website, all that goodness.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere and anywhere under Princess Nostalgia.
Got you.
PrincessNostalgia.com is my website.
There you have it, man. It's the DJ Chase, the pregame party miss podcast right here with Princess Nostalgia, Pittsburgh's own, man. You know, there's a new single, Lost and Found, out now, all streaming platforms. The EP, No Guru, dropping sometime soon, but we're going to get the singles. Vault Records, you know this, Princess Nostalgia, DJ Chase Radio, the pregame party miss podcast. Yeah.
DJ Chase TV.
It's official. Come on. Locked in with DJ Chase on the pregame party mix podcast.